Last night, I got to see Leigh Whannell's new movie titled Wolfman. And today, I'm actually going to give you my spoiler-free thoughts on whether you should watch this movie or should not watch this movie if you haven't seen it yet. If you have seen it though, I am asking you to write what you thought about the film down below in the comment section. And if you disagree with me, that is completely okay. The movies are supposed to speak to us in different ways. And so I would actually love to hear what your opinion was of Leigh Whannell's new movie, Wolfman. And so again, listen in the comments below and we can start a conversation about what we enjoyed about the film, what we didn't enjoy about the film. And so I would love to hear what you have to say. And also, in addition to, I'm also going to be now on Instagram, Threads, and X. And so if you want to follow me for new movie news or new movie content, I'm actually going to be posting short form clips of my videos as well to keep you guys engaged. And so, yeah, follow me on Instagram, Threads, or X, and let's get right into the good. All right, now for the good section. And so for the good section, I walked in with really high hopes of this film because Leigh Whannell, you guys say you don't recognize him, but you actually do. He was a part of the original writing team for the Saw movies, and he actually starred in the Saw movies as well. And then he was also part of the Insidious team, and he wrote those movies, and then he wrote his own Invisible Man, which is another Universal monster. And so since Wolfman is an additional Universal monster, I thought, why not give him a run at it? And I was actually really excited to see what he would do with this film and make the Wolfman character different and unusual, but also explore some deep themes like he did in The Invisible Man. And so with that, I walked in with heavy expectations and wanting this movie to be successful. So, as the movie went along, I realized that they used a lot of practical effects, which is a really good choice for them. These practical effects really elevated my experience instead of diminished it, and they used a lot of it for the transformation of the Wolfman himself. That looked really well done. Every time they cut to the Wolfman, something's different about him, and you're trying to figure out what it is. And so that was a really good part of that. They also used practical limbs and practical blood, and so all of that was really well done and elevated the experience instead of diminished it, because if they used CGI, it would have fully diminished the movie. And I wasn't expecting to go in here to see a bunch of practical effects because in The Invisible Man, they didn't use a bunch. They did use some, but not a bunch. And so this was a really big surprise for me through this film. The next good thing I would talk about with this film is actually the camera work. Whenever a character felt queasy in the film, the camera would get all shaky or up close and make him feel dizzy, and it made me feel dizzy, which I don't know if it's a good thing, but I think that it helped us be put into the boots of the character or the shoes of the character and help us feel what they're feeling at that moment. I thought that was really interesting. The other camera work I really like or really enjoyed was the fact that when the Wolfman was starting to turn and they had to interact with the character, they showed different points of view. So what the Wolfman or the guy turning into the Wolfman was seeing and what the other person was seeing. And so they show how much the Wolfman is transitioning, and I thought that was really done as well. I was not a huge fan of like the CGI with like the lights on the eyes and things like that. If you've seen the movie, you know. But overall, I thought that was a really interesting idea and way to pitch this new Wolfman story and how these people are slowly transitioning into the Wolfman. And so I thought that was really cool. One thing I would like to mention before we move on to the mixed aspect of this film was actually the sound design. And the music itself was nothing crazy, but the sound effects of when something happens was really grotesque. If you've seen the film, every time something bad happens or something's getting eaten, there's always a certain sound that throws you off or is really gross and disturbing. It actually elevates the goriness of the scene. And so I really appreciated that. The person I went with actually said that they hated the sound, and I said that is the point. You're supposed to hate the sound because it's supposed to be gross, and I think that elevated the experience as a whole for the movie and all the horror aspects of this film. And so with that, unfortunately, that is all of the good I have for this film. All right, now for the mixed section. I only actually have one thing that I wanted to mention in this section, and this was actually the lighting of some scenes. There are some scenes in this film where you can clearly see everything, and it was really easy to see all the little small details of the scenes, but there was also some parts of these scenes where I just could not see anything but the characters and I don't know if that was deliberate or not, and so that left me kind of confused while watching this film. There was one scene that was taking place in a barn where they used some sort of night vision, and I think that was deliberate in itself because that's how you get the scare there, or the environment upgraded there. But overall, I think it was unintentional, and so it left me really confused. I think what happened was my projector at the movie theater was not great, and so I didn't get to see all the little aspects. So maybe it was just me. Let me know if you guys had a different experience with the lighting. Maybe it was all good and I'm just being crazy with the projector in our theater. But overall, I think that threw me off, and I felt like I was missing some of the experiences or some of the little smaller details I would have loved to see a different way. And so let me know again if that was just me. With that, we're gonna move on to the bad. All right, with the bad, I walked into this film, as you guys remember, expecting a lot from this film because Leigh Whannell has done so good with the Invisible Man, and that is one Universal monster. Maybe he can pull it off again. And I'm sad to say that there is actually more bad in this film than there is good. In this film, there was a lot that went wrong for me. Lack of compelling characters, lack of compelling storyline, and so much other tiny small things that just overall diminished the overall experience for me. And so I'm actually going to walk you through step by step on which ones I think were the worst. If you guys notice of anything else that was really bad, let me know in the comments down below. But as I've said, let's get into some of this, more of the discussion. And so the first thing that I would say is truly bad was the chemistry of the main actors together. There is a lot of things with this chemistry aspect that really threw the movie off for me. I think these actors are good individually, but there's a lot of scenes where they would have conversations and it just felt like they were talking to a stone wall. They didn't actually show any emotion. And again, if you've seen the movie, there's a big counter argument for this that you can make against me, and I completely understand your point of view on that and how that changes your view of the film. But again, I just felt like the family was just talking to a stone wall. And there would be scenes that happened in the movie where I felt like they were only caring for their own safety, not for the safety of their partner or their dad, and that they were just trying to get out of the house and not care about them. They were okay with just kind of leaving them. And so the whole film itself, the first like 10 minutes where the characters of there's a dad and a son, that made sense and they connected well, but I don't feel like our main family connected well at all together. And so that was one thing that threw me off, was the chemistry of the actors. The other thing that threw me off was that these characters are very one-dimensional. They do have some relationship issues in the film, and so that brings in some descriptiveness of these characters, and they kind of drop it by 30 minutes into the film and it's never talked about again. So that might kind of relate with the chemistry of the actors, but the overall characters were just kind of there. So with the problem of the chemistry being on the actors in some ways, I don't feel like it's fully on the actors because these characters were portrayed very one-dimensional based. And when I mean one-dimensional based, I'm saying that these characters just did not have any depth or characteristics that really stuck them out from another character or another person in today's world that you might actually meet. They're just normal, basic people. And so they try to portray something for about 30 minutes where they had some relationship issues and things like that, but they just didn't go anywhere. They dropped it after 30 minutes. And so I was actually kind of rooting for the Wolfman to just eat the whole family, because that would have been the most entertaining thing that happened in this film. The family together, it did not work for me at all, and I think you guys have kind of seen that through my review. And so I think that's kind of frustrating when you're wanting to root for the main characters, but you really can't because of the sheer basicness, or there's nothing for you to connect with them about. And so that was one thing that I was kind of really disappointed about on this film, was the character chemistry as well as the connectiveness of these characters and the one-dimensionalness of these characters. I think if you displayed more or showed us more of these characters and their traits and things like that, I think that would have worked really well, and a lot better if we got to see more of like the backstory on why we should actually care for these characters. But the movie does start out really slow, so I think they could have used more time for that. There's a lot there that you could have pinpointed and saying this was the problem, but yeah, I'm just gonna kind of say that. But like I said, there was a lot of things that were really good about this movie, with the practical effects and the transitioning of the Wolfman, as well as the camera shots and things like that. But I was kind of very disappointed with this movie, because Leigh Whannell has done really well in the past, bringing out and dragging out big themes to explore in these types of movies. And I just feel like this one was just as basic as it could get. And all to say, it wasn't a awful movie. It was just very basic. Nothing new was added. And I just kind of felt like the characters themselves just did not sell me the movie that I wanted. So, real quick before I give you my final review, even though you can probably tell where this is going to go, I would love for you to follow me on these social medias down below, but also let me know what you thought about Leigh Whannell's Wolfman. Did you enjoy it? Was it a huge disappointment? Or did you walk out just thinking, eh? So, let me know in the comments down below, but with that, let's get into the final scorecard. Like I said, this movie was a huge disappointment for me. I was expecting a lot more with the characters and some compelling plot points and things like that. So with that, I'm going to give it a 2 out of 5 stars on the star chart. The next part is the scorecard, and I'm actually going to give it a 4.5 out of 10 on the scorecard. And this is just because I expected a lot more from Leigh Whannell with his characters and the story itself, and I feel like they really fumbled the bag on all of that, because these are his talents where he's used in the past, and I feel like this is just his weakest film so far with that. The practical effects were the best part of this film, as well as the sound design and the camera work, but overall I think that was just meh. And finally, I would like to talk about, would I recommend this film to you? And so with that question, I'm going to say no. I would not recommend for you to go see this film in theaters. Honestly, I would recommend for you to watch it on a streaming service at home. I wouldn't even buy it. I would just watch it on the streaming service at home when it comes out. And unfortunately, this movie was a huge disappointment to me. Again, let me know what your opinion on Leigh Whannell's Wolfman was down below in the comments. And I'm going to be posting a lot on my socials, or trying to, so please follow me on the socials, because that would mean a lot to me, as well as click on another video and subscribe to this one, because this took a lot of time and effort, and I would really appreciate it. But with all that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope that you guys stay safe out there.